Hi, I'm Lucy from Sew Essential and I'm here today to take a closer look at the Baby Lock Gloria coverlock machine, just one of a wide range of overlockers and cover stitch machines available on our site sewessential.co.uk. At Sew Essential, we pride ourselves on using our expert knowledge to help you find the perfect machine for you. And that's why I've made this video, but we're also always here to support you by phone or email too. The Baby Lock Gloria is next up from the Ovation, so you get all the same great features you get on the Ovation, but in addition to that, you benefit from jet air threading needles. So you press a button and the machine threads the needles for you. It really is something to be seen, and I'll show you in the video. The foot lift is also here on the front at the side of the machine rather than underneath on the front, and that just makes it more accessible when you're working on a project. And then the lighting is better than on the Ovation too. The lighting on the Ovation is exceptional, but it's even better on the Gloria. In the same way as the Ovation, you benefit from Revolution Air threading loopers. So you simply press a button and the loopers will be threaded for you, and you can thread all three loopers at the same time. You also have a lovely wide space under the arm, so that makes working on bigger projects easier, and it also means it's really easy to get the fabric into the right position if you want to do decorative stitches in the middle of a project. You've got the option to slow your sewing speed down, so if you're working on a tricky technique you can slow that right down, and then when you're doing something more simple you can speed it right back up again. You've got the option to use a knee lift with this machine, the same as the Ovation. So that means you can keep both hands on the fabric as you reposition your foot. You also have the unique wave stitch, which is a decorative stitch unique to Baby Lock and only available on selected models, all of which are available on our site. And you can sew with up to 8 threads. So you've got so many options to get really creative with this machine. You also benefit from automatic thread tension, so you can go from sewing a piece of denim to a piece of jersey without adjusting any of the settings, and you can thread the machine in any order. So if one thread breaks or you want to change one colour, you don't need to rethread the whole machine and start again. You simply replace the one that you want to. If you'd like to take a closer look at this machine on our website, I'll pop a link in the corner and you can take a closer look and purchase it there. Later in the video, I'll show you what's in the box, but for now, let's take a closer look at what this incredible machine can do for you. I'm going to start by showcasing the incredibly easy threading of the Baby Lock Gloria, and that is really one of the standout features of the Baby Lock machines, just how easy they are to thread and set up. In order to do that, I'm going to attach the additional thread stand that comes with the machine. You just clip it into the back of the machine and it's really easy to attach and remove, but this allows you to sew with up to 8 threads at one time, which just means you can get so creative and create so many beautiful stitches with this machine. I'm going to be using the sponge pads because I'm going to be working with smaller reels of thread, but you also get plastic ones included for when you're working with larger reels of thread. I really like the fact that all of the thread stands are labelled as well, and the telescopic thread guide is also labelled. So when you're putting your threads on the relevant thread stands, it makes it really clear which path you need to go through to thread the machine up. It makes it so easy. And I'm just going to start by placing a reel of thread on the lower looper stand. I'll take it through the telescopic thread guide, and there's even some brushes on the telescopic thread guide that will remove any lint or anything from your thread before it gets to your machine. And then I'm just going to extend this out of shot now and put the other threads in place. So we're setting up for a 4-thread overlocking stitch, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with the other thread stands. So this is my overlocker needle. So I'm going to go through O2 here because it's my overlocker needle 2. And then I've got overlocker needle 1 here. Everything's labelled up so I know exactly where to put the thread. And then finally I've got my upper looper thread here, and I'll go through the relevant guide at the top as well. And then once you've done that and you've got all of those in place, you just click the thread into the relevant tension here, and that will automatically set the right tension. And that is another standout feature of the Baby Lock machines. You don't have to be worrying about setting your tension, working out whether it's a needle or whether it's a looper that's the issue. The tension will be automatically set for you when you choose the relevant stitch that you're going to use. And it really is just so easy. And it's just wonderful being able to work with lots of different fabrics and just know that you're going to get great results every time. So we're going to do the really fun bit now and thread the loopers on the Gloria. So whereas on manual overlocker machines, to thread the loopers, you've very often got to use tweezers and you've got to get through a fiddly thread path with them to get the thread to the loopers and through the loopers. But with the Baby Lock Gloria and lots of the other Baby Lock machines, you get a simple threading port system where you pop the threads into the relevant threading ports, press a button, and the loopers are threaded for you. Not only that, you can thread the machine in any order. So if one thread breaks or you want to change a colour, you don't have to rethread the whole machine. You can just replace that single thread. Whereas on other overlockers, you'll have to unthread and start all over again. So very time consuming, very frustrating. Whereas on the Baby Lock models and the Baby Lock Gloria, your time is going to be invested in sewing and there's going to be very little time invested in threading. So I'm just going to open that front cover, and to thread it, we're going to lift the presser foot. So I really like the fact that that lever's on the side of this machine. It makes it really easy to get to. It's very accessible. And then I'm going to move this lever from serging to threading. And then when I turn the hand wheel towards me, eventually the threading ports will click into place, the metal bars there, you'll see and hear those click into place. So I'm just turning the hand wheel now. And there we go. That has now connected the upper and lower looper to the thread paths and threading ports. So I'm going to take the thread. And another great thing about the Gloria is it's got the revolutionary threading. So what this means is that you can actually thread 2 or 3 loopers at the same time. So you can actually thread your upper and lower looper or upper, lower and cover stitch looper all at the same time, which is just absolutely wonderful. Just again, speeding that whole threading process up so that you're spending less time setting your machine up and more time enjoying the sewing part, which is what we all want to do. So I'm just pushing the thread into the port, and then I'm going to press the button, and you will see the thread will fly out of the relevant loopers. And you can see there I've got my pink thread in the lower looper and my yellow thread in the upper looper, and that is as simple as it is. I'm going to leave that lever on threading for now because we're going to carry on now and thread the needles, and that can be done at the touch of a button too. Now we're going to do the next really fun part of threading this machine, which is threading the needles at the touch of a button too. So I'm going to lower the presser foot, and I need to make sure that the machine is still in the correct position for threading. So I'm still in that position because I've just threaded the loopers and I've still got those tubes engaged there. And that means that the needle is in the correct position to use the needle threader. But I'm just making you aware of that because, like I said, you can thread this machine in any order. So if you're starting with your needles, just make sure you're in that position too. And I'm going to take the blue thread through the relevant thread guides, up and over, and then behind the relevant thread guides on the needle bar, which is very similar to how you thread your sewing machine needles. Now, you'll notice here that there is a needle bar for the overlocker needles, and then there's a piece on the front which is for the cover stitch and chain stitch needles. So I'm using the one at the back because we're setting up for a 4-thread overlocking stitch. And then I've got an option here to choose whether I'm threading chain and cover stitch needles or overlocker needles. So I've just selected overlocker, and then I'm going to draw down the needle threading device and click that into position. And like everything on Baby Lock machines, it just feels really sturdy and secure. And I really like that about these machines. You can tell they are excellent quality. And then I'm just going to position the thread. I'm trying to do it so that you can see it, but you just position the thread on the eye of the needle, and then you press the button and the needle is threaded for you. It's so easy. And then you just repeat the same process with the left needle as well, and then you'll be ready to sew a 4-thread overlocking stitch. If you want even more help threading the needles, there's also a guide that you can attach. So I'm just going to bring the needle threader down into position, and then you just attach this to the needle bar, just click it into place, and then you can just place the thread, the end of the thread, into the channels on the actual guide, so that you haven't even got to find the eye of the needle. You can just place the thread in that channel and then press the button and the needle is threaded, and then I can just remove that guide when I want to start sewing. So that's all done for you. That makes it even easier. So if you've got eyesight problems or anything like that, it's really helpful. And then before I start sewing, I would just pass those needle threads under the foot and to the back of the machine. And then you would also just select serging rather than threading mode. And what that will do is when you just turn that to serging mode, it just releases those metal tubes that we set up for the looper threading and the needle threading, and that enables the machine to move and start to sew. So now we've threaded the machine, we just need to select the relevant settings for the stitch we've chosen, and this is super easy too. You get a detailed instruction manual with the machine, but you also get a quick reference threading guide as well, and it's all really clearly labelled in both of those guides. So the first thing you do is select the stitch that you want to sew. So for a 4-thread overlocking stitch, I can see in the reference table, it just tells me to select A. You've then got the option for differential feed here as well. So if you're working with a fabric that's particularly stretchy or perhaps cut on the bias and it's going a little bit wavy as it sews, you can knock the differential feed up to compress the fabric and prevent that from happening. You can knock it right up to exaggerate the effect and create a gathering stitch, which is a really useful feature. Or if you do want to stretch the fabric as you sew, perhaps you want to create a lettuce edge, you can knock the differential feed down. But I'm just going to set it at neutral for this 4-thread overlocking stitch. I've also got the option here to choose between the wave stitch, which is a unique stitch available to Baby Lock, on selected models. We've got the full range on our website, so do check out the links, you'll see them all there. But I'm going to select the overlock mode because we're going to sew a 4-thread overlocking stitch. And then here we have the stitch width and the stitch length dials. I can see in the handy reference table that it tells me to select a stitch width between 6.5 and 7.5. So I'm going to go for 7. And then the stitch length, it tells me to select between 2 and 2.5 and 4, I think it is. Yeah, so I'm going to select 3. And then here there's a little dial that you use to engage or disengage the blade. So there might be times where you don't want to trim the edge of your fabric as you sew. And if that's the case, you turn the dial until it says lock. And then to re-engage it, you just turn it back the other way. And then one last feature I want to mention as well is the fact that you've got a sliding speed control on this machine, which is just absolutely brilliant and means that if you're working on something that requires real precision and accuracy, or you're a little bit nervous and you want to take things slow, you can use the sliding speed control to slow that sewing right down or speed it right back up. Now I'm going to show you a 4-thread overlocking stitch. So I'm going to show you on this piece of stretchy cotton jersey. Just mention these markings here. You can line the raw edge of your fabric up to the different markings to create different seam allowances. So that's a handy guide there. I'm not going to worry about that now though. Let's just go ahead and sew these stitches. And you can see there we've got a beautiful, incredibly neat, incredibly uniform, even stitch. That's the top of the fabric and that's the bottom side of the fabric. And then I'm going to go from sewing that piece of cotton jersey to sewing a piece of denim. So a completely different type of fabric, a woven fabric, and thicker and heavier. I'm not going to change any of the settings on the machine, but I'm going to get those same beautiful results. And there you have it, a beautiful stitch on the denim as well. And it's just wonderful being able to do this. On other overlockers, you might have to fiddle around with the different tensions of the loopers and the needles for potentially hours to get the sort of stitch that you want on different fabrics. But on the Baby Lock Gloria and on the Baby Locks with that automatic thread tension, the full range is on our site, so do check out the links. But on those machines, you're going to get these sorts of results between two very different types of fabric without even having to think about the settings. Another commonly used stitch is the 3-thread overlocking stitch, and to set the machine up for this, you thread the loopers in exactly the same way as we just did for the 4-thread stitch, and then you choose whether to thread the left overlocking needle or the right overlocking needle. The left needle will give you a wider 3-thread stitch, and the right needle will give you a narrower stitch. And then once you've set it up for the narrower stitch with the right needle, you've also got the option to sew a 3-thread rolled hem. For the 3-thread rolled hem, I'm just going to select D on the stitch selector, and then the stitch width I'm going to set to 3.5. And then on the stitch length dial, I'm going to move around from the standard setting to the rolled hem setting, which is on the other side, and I'm going to select a stitch length of 0.75. Now I'm going to show you the 3-thread rolled hem, which is a really lovely decorative finish to the edge of fabrics. So you'll often see this used on things like chiffon scarves or delicate satin fabrics, that sort of thing. It's a really nice way to finish the edges of those more delicate fabrics. Another use I've used it for is if I'm sewing a ruffle on a dress and the pattern tells me to press the fabric under and under again to create a narrow hem, and I think, well, actually that's going to be a bit bulky. This is a really nice alternative way to finish the edge of the fabric that's prettier, more delicate, and just more suitable. So I'm going to go ahead and sew that now and show you. And there you have it, that lovely decorative finish to the edge of the fabric. Really pretty, really easy to sew. And then you can also use the tails. You can sew off a chain of stitches, and you can use these for things like belt loops as well. So it's a really useful stitch to have on the machine. Now I'm going to show you how to convert the Gloria from an overlocker mode to cover stitch mode. And a cover stitch is commonly used to hem knit and jersey garments, although you can use it on woven garments too. On the right side of the garment, you'll have 2 or 3 parallel lines of stitching, depending on which option you choose. And on the wrong side, you'll have a lovely, neat overlocking stitch. And to convert your needles from overlocker to cover stitch mode, you just need to remove the needles from the overlocker needle bar. Just use the Allen key that comes with the machine. Remove the overlocker needle, bring it forward, and then you put it into the relevant cover stitch needle there. So that is cover stitch needle 1 that I've moved that one forward to. So it's just whichever cover stitch needles you're planning on using. I'll just bring that other one forward and we'll put that in cover stitch 3, because you've got different options to do wide cover stitches or narrow cover stitches, or whether to use all 3 needles. But that now is ready for threading. Threading the needles for a chain or cover stitch is lovely and easy too. So you just put the threads on the relevant stands, chain needle 1, 2, or 3, so you can use different combinations of them depending which stitch you're doing. And then you use the telescopic thread guide. That's all labelled up as well, so it's really easy because of all the labelling. And then you just take the threads through this guide on the back of the machine and down the relevant thread path. So chain needle 1, goes through the left guide and along the left path. Chain needle 2 goes through the middle guide and the middle path, and chain needle 3 goes through the right hand guide and the right hand path. So I'm just going to click that under the metal guide and bring it down through the relevant path, and then I shall do the same with chain needle 2, and then we'll finish up with chain needle 3. And then the final step of threading the needles is very, very simple. So you bring the threads down the paths I showed you, and then you take your thread up and over the metal thread guide, down in front of the needle bar and through the relevant guide there, and then just thread your needles in the usual way, which I'm not going to show you again because we've already done that for the Overlocker needles, but you can use the needle threader again for your cover stitch needles. Just remember to switch that to chain or cover stitch before using the jet air threading needles. To thread the cover stitch looper, put the thread on the cover stitch looper stand, take it through the telescopic thread guide, and then you take your thread through this metal thread guide on the side of the machine. Just take the thread through the hole from the front to the back. Obviously make sure the machine is in threading mode before you do this, and that your tube is engaged so that you can thread the cover stitch looper. But then take the thread behind the metal thread guide there, and then up and over through the metal thread guide on the front of the machine, and then give yourself a good amount of thread and just thread the looper in exactly the same way we did for the Overlocker loopers. Just insert some thread into the threading port, press the button, and there we go, the cover stitch looper is threaded. There is one additional step with setting the Gloria up for a cover stitch, and for this you just open the front cover, and we need to disengage the upper looper. So we're just going to turn this dial from up to down, and then if I turn the hand wheel towards me, you'll see that the upper looper remains locked and in the down position. So you can see now that that will stay in the down position, and that means I can remove the front cover like so. It just slides out really easily, and then replace that with the cover stitch table. So I just slide that into position, and that creates a lovely big work area for all your super creative projects. So I've shown you how to set the machine up for a straightforward cover stitch, and now I'm going to show you how to set it up to use all 8 threads. And once we've sewn that stitch, I'll be able to show you the cover stitch in its own right. And that's just one of the brilliant things about this machine. You can sew so many different combinations of stitches thanks to the fact that you can use up to 8 threads. Now, of course, I feel I've got to show you all 8 threads in action, so I just want to show you how to set the machine up for that. You're going to select A on the stitch selector. Make sure you're in overlock mode, not wave stitch mode here. The stitch width, you're going to select 7.5, which is the widest stitch. And the stitch length, we're going to go into the standard side of the dial and select between 2.5 and 4. And then the chain needle tension needs to be set at between 4 and 6. So that's the dial on the side of the machine here to the left of the needle bar. And then this is the cover looper tension, and we want to set that at between 0 and 1. So we're ready now to thread all 8 threads and sew a cover stitch and overlocker stitch combined. Now I'm going to show you the Gloria in all its glory, because I've got the machine threaded up with all 8 threads. So the 3 cover stitch needles are threaded, the 2 overlocker needles are threaded, the cover stitch and the overlocker loopers are threaded, and we're going to create a beautiful 8 thread rainbow stitch. So you can see there we've got the 4 thread overlocking stitch running down the edge of the fabric, and then we've got the 3 thread cover stitch running below that. So the 3 parallel lines of stitches are the cover stitch needles, And then if we turn over and look at the back of the fabric, you've got your overlocking stitch at the top again, and this yellow stitch here is your lovely cover stitch on the lower side, on the underside of the fabric. And this can actually be used, you can create this separately. It's a good opportunity for me to just show you the cover stitch itself. If I just take a pair of scissors and cut the overlocking stitch off, because you've already seen that earlier in the video, you'll be able to see what the cover stitch would look like on its own. So you just get those 3 parallel lines of stitches. You can also opt to do 2 parallel lines of stitches. You can use cover stitch needle 1 and 3, which are the 2 outer ones for a wide cover stitch, or you can use needles 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 for a narrow cover stitch. And then on the back, there's that lovely effect of the cover stitch looper on the back of the fabric. And sometimes I like to use that actually on the right side of the fabric, because I just think it's such a lovely decorative stitch. And sometimes that's just a nice way to create a bit of interesting detail on your garments. It's usually used, or very commonly used, on t-shirts and dresses around the hems, because it's got a good amount of stretch. So if you're making dresses and t-shirts in jersey fabrics, when you pull the garment on and off your body, you're not going to pop the stitches, because these stitches have got a lot more stretch in them. And the other thing to mention about the Gloria as well is you've got a lot of space under here, so you can work on bigger projects more easily. But also, if you wanted to do something like put a cover stitch, the wrong side of a cover stitch, down a princess seam in the middle of a garment, perhaps if you're making activewear and that sort of thing, this space here makes it really easy for you to position those stitches exactly where you would like them. And obviously I can't show you the Baby Lock Gloria without showing you that unique wave stitch, which is only available on select models and only available on Baby Lock machines. So I'm going to select wave here rather than overlock. I'm then going to select B on the stitch selector, and I'm going to choose a width of 5 on this width dial, and then a length of between 0.75 and 2.5 on the standard side of the dial. I'm going to go for 0.75 because that will fill the stitches in really nicely. And there are lots of variations of the wave stitch, so I'm just going to show you the 3-thread wave stitch, but there are actually lots of other options: a rolled wave stitch, a reverse wave stitch. So you can really get creative with this machine and have a play around with lots and lots of decorative stitch options. Just want to talk you through the slightly different setup with the threads for the wave stitch. So you place a reel of thread on the Overlocker needle 2 stand, take it through the Overlocker needle 2 guide on the telescopic thread guide, but normally you would take the thread then through this path, but instead for the wave stitch you actually take it through the path you would normally use for Overlocker needle 1, and then you just take the thread down there and thread the Overlocker needle 2 needle in the usual way. The upper looper thread you put on the upper looper thread stand, you take it through the upper looper thread guide on the telescopic thread guide, and then you take the upper looper thread through this thread path, which is normally used for Overlocker needle 2. So effectively, you're moving them to the left and using the path to the left of the one you would normally use. So for the upper looper, we go through this path, which would normally be used for the Overlocker needle 2, take that down the front of the machine, and then thread the upper looper. The lower looper is threaded in the usual way. So we just place the lower looper thread on that thread stand, take it through the lower looper telescopic thread guide, through the normal path, and thread the lower looper in the normal way. So you're just leaving this thread path open because you're running your Overlocker needle thread through this one, you're running your upper looper thread through this one, and you're running your lower looper thread through this one. Now we'll take a look at the beautiful decorative wave stitch, and I'm using woolly nylon threads in the loopers, which are thicker threads, and just fill those decorative stitches in really nicely. You can find the woolly nylon on our website. And how easy and quick is it to create such a lovely decorative finish to the edge of your fabric? So it's perfect for crafting projects, home dec projects, and you might even want to use it in your dressmaking too. So if you're impressed with the outstanding features on this wonderful machine and you'd like to purchase it, just click the link to take a closer look on our website and you can purchase it there. In the box, you'll find everything you would expect: a detailed instruction manual, a quick reference threading guide, an electronic foot control, some spare needles, some spare screws, a spare blade, a pair of tweezers, a cleaning brush, a screwdriver. You'll also find cone holders for the larger reels of overlocking thread and sponge discs for the smaller reels of overlocking thread. Then, if you want to take your sewing even further, there's a huge range of feet and accessories available to buy separately for this machine. So you might want to purchase a piping foot, a beading foot, an elastic foot or a gathering foot, or you might want to purchase the excellent value multi-pack of feet available for this machine. There's also a compendium which tells you all the different stitch combinations and what you might like to use them for. Just click the link and look at the Baby Lock feet and accessories on our website, and if you have any trouble choosing, don't hesitate to ask, because that's what we're here for. I've given you a really good overview of the Baby Lock Gloria, but if I've left any of your questions unanswered, don't hesitate to contact us. We're always happy to help before and after a sale, because we love sewing too. All of our machines come with a full manufacturer's warranty, so that's 2 years on this machine, but that can be extended to 4 years in total by completing a simple form within 3 months of purchasing the machine. We offer the best prices, but if you do see this machine cheaper anywhere else, don't hesitate to contact us and we'll be happy to help. Your machine will be delivered by courier the next working day, free of charge, with a time slot, so you know exactly when your happy post is going to arrive. I hope you've enjoyed the video today and you're excited about your new machine, and thanks for watching.